Hello,
Yeah, hi, welcome.
welcome. When the meeting is start?
Yeah, just a minute. Let the people to join. It's just only 5:55.
Oh, this is a
Hello.
single or this is a course.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
Welcome. When the meeting is start?
Yeah, just a minute. Let all the participants to join. It's just only 5:55.
Oh, this is a
Hello.
single or this is a course.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
Welcome. When the meeting is start?
Yeah, just a minute. Let all the participants to join. It's just only 5:55.
Oh, this is a
Hello.
single or this is a course.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
Please, everyone, mute it.
రెండు బోండా రెండు ఇడ్లీ పాస్
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Just unmute. Yeah, please, all participants, just unmute. Mute yourself. Now we are going to
Yes,
start the program. Now let's have some introduction about the AllPro trainings. Thanks for watching this video. Now, I welcome one and all who gather here for this event. My name is Sri Raghavi. I am working in AllPro trainings. I am going to present this masterclass to you. And this is the agenda, webinar agenda. We are going to have participant introduction for 10 minutes, then webinar content for 45 minutes. Then we are going to have coding sessions for 20 minutes. And then the last, we are going to have student guidance, which is for 5 minutes. And we are going to see about our APT offer, which is for 5 minutes. And again, we have queries and feedback sessions, which is going to be for 5 minutes. Okay. Now, let me introduce our trainer, Mr. Lokesh. He is well experienced for about 15 years and he have good knowledge in reactjs. So let me introduce Lokesh to yourself. Lokesh, just introduce yourself. Lokesh? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good
Please
evening, everyone.
continue.
So Lokesh here. Right. Okay. So myself, Lokesh. So I have around 15 years of experience in software development and architecting the solutions. Right. So primarily I was involved in Java-based technologies and JavaScript-based technologies like React.js, Node.js, and AngularJS. So architecting the solutions using this full stack, and also the cloud-based deployments with GCPs and Azure Web Services, right? Amazon Web Services, right? So yeah, that's all about myself. Yeah.
Okay, Lokesh. Now I ask participants to introduce yourself. Just randomly, you can introduce yourself.
Please introduce yourself in chat box. You are a student or working professional. What are the expectation in the masterclass?
Yeah, you can put in the chat box. Okay, just go for the webinar. Lokesh, just please continue the class.
Okay, fine. Right. Okay, give me a second. Let me open my document. So meanwhile, I just want to understand from if there are any specific expectation from the team anywhere, you can put in the chat. We can go over that. If not, we'll go with the regular webinar walkthrough that we have. Yes, you can put in the chat if you have any specific expectation from the class, right? Okay. So what we can do?
Lokesh, you can share your screen.
Yes,
Or
right.
go for
I'm doing it. So you can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
No.
Sir.
I think I cannot share the screen. Maybe Sri Raghavi or Uma, can you add? Can you allow me to share the screen?
Raghavi, stop your screen and Lokesh will share his screen. Yeah, you can.
Okay, right. Now I can. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so primarily what we are going to discuss in this webinar, right? So we are going to discuss more about React. What is React and how does it going to work? What is the benefit of it, right? Why do we need it? What is the problem with existing
So currently
technologies?
market opportunity is currently high or low? Yeah.
Sorry, what is it?
Market opportunity
opportunity.
for
Okay, so
freshers.
the market for freshers
Yes,
So
sir.
being a fresher or being an experienced guy, right? So the market for the React.js, especially React plus Node.js, right? It's very high. It's very huge, right?
Okay, sir.
Especially comparing to other traditional technologies. This
Okay, sir.
technology is very huge in demand because it has a lot
Yes.
of benefits that comes to development, UI development, a lot of things, right? You get a good package. As a fresher, I'm not
Okay,
sure
sir.
about packages and other things, but a
Okay, sir.
traditional technology like Java and other one, I'll say C Sharp or something, right?
Okay.
Also has a good market, but this seems to be higher, especially in US and US market, and people who has the customer base in US, USA, UK, right?
Okay.
They're primarily moving all the front end into the JavaScript technologies like React.js and AngularJS. So
Yes,
both
sir.
has a market, but React has certain use cases where it shines or it gets you know more beneficial than other languages,
Okay.
right?
See,
Okay, question.
screen is not visible.
My screen is not visible.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, for some reason I think this system got hanged. I was using my other network. Okay, any other questions? Maybe meanwhile the system
Sir,
comes up.
what is the additional thing we want to learn?
So when you say additional thing,
Yes, sir.
see this language, right? React language.
Yes, sir.
It's primarily for building the UI applications. When I
Yes,
say
sir.
UI, right? What
Yes.
happens? I'm not sure what skills or what background you all have, whether IT background or some other background. But to just give a background on web application, other things, I'll explain certain things to you. See what happens generally. Any user or any person who goes to the browser, any Google Chrome or Firefox, what
Okay.
is see in the browser is all HTML, JavaScript, and CSS.
Yes, sir.
And these are the three. So browser doesn't understand anything other than these languages
Yes, sir.
or these technologies, right? Then where does these React.js, AngularJS, and Java, all those technologies comes in? End of the day, all these technologies behind the scenes are useful for creating the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS and render it in the browser. But they don't have their own languages, their own syntaxes. They work on different areas like front end, back end, and server side technologies, all those things. So there are three things that we need to consider in any web application. One is you always have a front end that you visually see in the browsers. Anything that you see in the browser is always a front end technology, like your HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. See, in the behind the scenes, there is a server. Server is something which connects the database and your front end technology, which means it is a bridge between your databases who has all the data. You will see that, let's take an example of Amazon, right? Amazon is a browser. Sorry, Amazon is a web application.
Web application.
In the browser, you hit the amazon.in or .com or whatever it is, right? What you see in the browser, you will see list of products in the Amazon browser, Amazon
Yes, sir.
website. You will see a lot of products and a lot of categories that comes in the products, right? There are categories where you group the products into that. All these are built using, so whatever you see in the browser is all based off HTML, JavaScript, and CSS only. But somewhere you need to have all these product list and everything, right? So you need to have this product name, description, and image of the product, and you need to have all the price and other things, offers, whatever it is, right? Somewhere you need to store all these informations, right? Where you store these informations is the databases. So there are a lot of SQL databases like MySQL, Postgres. So there are no SQL databases like MongoDB and other things, right? So you come
Yes, sir.
across. So these are all the databases where you will store your informations. Got it? So these informations, the information that you store in the database cannot be read from by any HTML technology. That's not possible. That's where the bridge comes in, the server-side technologies, be it a Java, or it can be a Python, it can be a PHP, or it can be ASP.NET as well. Give me a second, 1 second. Sorry, okay. Can you hear me? So this is where the server technologies comes in place. So there is a front end where you will visually see in the browser. There is a middleware or server technologies like Java or whatever it is. Node.js now. Now Node.js is very famous. Earlier it was Java and .NET. Now Python comes in, and now Node.js comes in. Right. Each of them has their own drawbacks and advantages. Right. So now this is the connecting bridge which connects to the backend, which gets the data and show it in the front end. Okay. This is what primarily the web application works. Now coming to your question.
Your screen is not visible.
Okay, your screen is not visible, Lokesh. Blank. What?
Hello, sir. Kindly share your screen.
Wait for 2 minutes. Some network issue. Trainer left. He will join again. Sorry for inconvenience.
Okay, we can have some introduction in these 2 minutes. If any of the participants wish to introduce yourself, you can introduce here.
Yes, ma'am. My name Shankar.
Yeah, hi, sir.
I'm currently living in Chennai. I'm
Okay.
looking for a developer in a reputed company. I'm doing a course in some institution,
Okay.
but it's not up to level.
Okay.
It's one of the weak institute in Chennai.
Okay. Okay.
I suffer right now because of the institution teaching like that.
Okay, Shankar. Okay.
Okay. I'm currently searching a job in Chennai for fresher.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Shankar.
That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Shankar.
Okay.
Any of the volunteer from the participant willing to introduce yourself?
Yeah, ma'am. This is Rakesh Yadav.
Yeah, hi, Rakesh.
Yeah. I am from Nizamabad, Telangana.
Okay.
I have completed my BTech graduation in civil engineering from Nizamabad itself.
Okay.
And I have completed my academics in year 2021. After completing my BTech, I developed my interest in web development and pursued my web development technologies from Next Web Institute.
Okay.
Which is next wave IB hubs. We can also say that as a part of my learnings, I built different
Sorry guys,
websites for responsive web designs.
Some connectivity issue. Okay.
Okay, Rakesh.
Now you can hear me, right? It's better.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Rakesh.
Okay.
Hello, am I audible?
Now the trainer is back, so we can go for the session now. Thank you, Shankar, and thank you, Rakesh, for your wonderful introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, can you guys see my screen now? Location.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So we are talking about the web application, how it works and what it needs, right? So generally, so the front end is where this React technology is going to be, very helpful. So meaning this React library is going to generate some HTML, JavaScript, and CSS together and show it in the UI, right? This is what we are going to build. So what it is specialized of, What is it internally? See, it's a library. This library we'll use to create the front end of components. There are a bunch of components that we'll create, and we'll render it in the UI. That's what it does, right? But it has its own syntax and everything. It has its own specialization, what it is benefit for. It has its own pros and cons as well. So primarily, it is benefit. So traditionally, we use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. This is going to be internally, it has all the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, but it has a different approach that we build the UI. Let's see an example of what it does. So you all might have used the Facebook, right? What a Facebook application has. The Facebook application has a different areas. And you will have a search box. You will have a notification area, right? You will have what is that? Friend list area. You will have a post section and other sections, right? So each of these sections can be an independent component by itself, which means, see, this particular, in traditional way, what you do, you create a one single HTML with all the elements being placed on the HTML. And there is a common JS and CSS, right? That's how it was built in the tradition. So now, so these are all can be independent components, which can do its own interactions, which can have its own UI, user interface, which can have its own JavaScript and CSS. It can also connect to the data and it can render by itself. For example, see this friend list. When a new friend joins, what it happens? It will show the new friend with green icon, which means he is active. If somebody has been inactive, then it will show as an inactive. So this particular portion here, you see, is an independent component built by kind of React. It can be independent component, which internally works like this. It has its own HTML to render the UI. It has its own JavaScript to do some kind of operations. It has its own CSS, so that it renders its beautify the component, right? So this is how the components in React were built, and it can also interact with the data. So it can go to the backend server and connect to the database and get the updated list or whatever it is. It can connect to any service. There are a lot of things behind things. It can connect to APIs. It can connect to messaging services, right? So likewise, React is useful for creating independent components, inbuilt independent components with its own HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Like you see, each component of React, we call components, we call everything in a React as a components. We build the components and we'll render it in the UI, right? Each component can have its own HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right? This is how it's going to be. So now you can build few hundreds of components and you can render it in the UI. As you see in the previous example, the same page, you can have many number of components. You can have a search box, you can have notification area, friend list area, post areas, and you can have anything else. On the left side, you can have something else or whatever it is, right? You can build a number of components. Each has its own purpose, independent purpose, right? Any questions? Sorry. Sorry, any question to me? Okay. I think somebody is talking. Fine. So any questions or we can proceed? Okay.
You can proceed.
No questions. No questions, right? Okay. Fine. So this is all about the React component. So what we see is, so a component can have its own thing to render, to beautify, to have some interaction, right? So to render, we use HTML. To beautify the component, we use CSS, right? To do some kind of actions, right? Here, you go on hit and something, get the data, and some kind of actions will be done using the JavaScript. Hope it's clear till now, right? Now, this is one example. So this is one of the Facebook example. This is other example, how the components are being, created. Let's say we have a page, right? A page in a browser, and we have a navigation bar in the top. Navigation bar is something that you want to navigate from one page to other page, or some kind of menu that you have in the top section, right? Page 1, page 2, or click on the categories or whatever. And in the container section, you have a to-do list. A to-do list is nothing. It's not a to-do list. It can be any list, right? Just named as to-do list. Inside the to-do list, we have 2 items. So each item has 2 different things. One is a checkbox. The other one is some text by mail, by X or something. Now, this is the UI that you need. Now, how do you componentization of this React using React, right? How will you split that into multiple components and build it as a one single application? So in React, we are going to create this as a root level, there is application. Then you will have a nav bar. Right? Then you will have a to-do list. Each of them is a component now. You build this as a component. Nav bar component, to-do list component, list item component, which is nothing but a list item, which has 2 different items like checkbox and text item. Text item is nothing but it's a display text, right? Now, so this is how you will build a component tree in your React application. Go to this very small atomic level and create a component with the small atomic levels, which means a smaller piece of your application can be created as a component. You can build as many components you want, right? Now, the same component can be reused in different places. For example, this text component can be reused in different places. In our example, we have the same checkbox component, only one component built. We have the same text component, but only difference between these 2 areas is the text is different. So when you say same text for components, how do you achieve 2 different values? It's possible. That's what React is providing a properties for you. React will take the input as a properties and render based on that. Now for this text for components, you can have a property called name. So for that, you can pass by milk or by eggs. The same component you can reuse here, but with different name. So that's how the React's components are built and props are supplied to it so that it renders differently. You don't want to recreate the component again and again. You don't want to write the logic again and again in different places. You build one component, you pass the different values to that component, it renders in different way. Let's see an example of Amazon. How does it? So if you see this, let's go to your product page, mobiles or something. This is not built using React. We are just using for example, but yeah. So if you look at this, this is a one product. This is other product. This is other product. Behind the scenes, if you look at the elements here. So this, behind the scenes, it's a HTML. All these are all HTML tags, right? HTML tags that is being generated by this application. Now let's look at this product HTML. How does it look? See, each of them is an HTML division tags here. Now, so to bring this kind of UI with multiple products, the HTML, this is what we call it as a DOM, document object model, HTML DOM. So HTML needs this much of code to render. You see, to bring this one single product component, I need this much of division tags and blah 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 to render it. So for every product, you need to create the same with different names. Let's see here, right? This has a different image. Oppo 1, Oppo 5G, right? This has a different image and this has a different image. So only the image name changes, but rest of the things are same. One example is, so to this and to this, the change is only the image name, but rest of the tags inside it are same. So in these kind of use cases, you don't want to rewrite the same logic again and again, right? That's if you write there, that will be a huge problem for that. So you have to write bunch of codes every time to create an application. So what is the React is supporting? You create one tag like this, and you pass a different properties for that, right? You create a product component, and for that product component, you pass a different image and different text. It will render. All these logics behind the scenes will be in the component by itself. So this is how you are going to create the components. The whole is a component, but these are all the properties exposed in the component where you pass. For this, you pass a 5.7 inch something 1+11. For this product, you pass this as a properties. So basically, a component takes props, and based on the props, it renders in different options, different ways. That's all. That's how React works. Okay. Now, so one of the benefit of React that we see, right? See, now what happens? We saw about the DOM. There is a bunch of objects we have in the DOM. This is a huge DOM. It has a lot of elements, right? Now let's say there is a small change in the, we are selecting this one. If you select this one, to see the change, the DOM has to be updated. Let's see, is there any select option here? Or here is this is also a DOM, right? When you select this one, to filter the data and to make this selected, the entire DOM has been refreshed. You see there is a whole refresh happens. See it again. The whole page refresh, right? To filter the data out and to show the new selection here, the whole page refresh. So this is what in React, what we do to avoid this kind of situation. No, it's not to avoid. There is a use case that React doesn't. React is a single page application, which means it's not multiple page. So any changes that you see, you will see in the same page. It will not re-render or it will not refresh. It will not refresh the browser tab. So you click on any filter, you see it in the same application. Let me show you an example also, but for now, yeah, we'll discuss on it. Within the same page, you will see all the changes. So React internally has a virtual DOM. What is a virtual DOM? A DOM is the actual DOM that you see in the browser. A virtual DOM is a virtual object of the DOM. It will create a virtual object. And then what it does in the virtual object, what is the element that has been changed from? So let's say for our to-do list example, you have two items. When I click on any of the item, so what you need to show now is you need to show the new UI with a check mark on the checkbox that you have clicked. If you have clicked buy X, you have to show check mark here. If you have clicked buy milk, you have to show check mark here. So this is what the change happens with the UI. Now, how do you achieve that, right? So when you click on the checkbox, now your entire DOM has to refresh. Only then you can see. Correct? Only then you can see the new changes. The way the React works is, it will have the actual DOM, actual DOM, and it will have a virtual DOM. And in the virtual DOM, internally React has a diffing algorithm, which means DOM, node by node or element by element, however it is, right? It compares and it finds only the element that has been modified. Not all the elements, right? Only the element that has been modified. In this use case, so the element that has been modified is only this checkbox element. Because it's unchecked here. When you check that in your virtual DOM, the checkbox is checked. Now React identifies this using the algorithm and it finds that and it goes to the actual DOM and replaces only that particular element. It will not replace the entire DOM object. It will replace only that particular element. So this is one of the benefits. One of the benefits because of the performance of React is very faster. So this virtual DOM is one of the features that React has. Now, so these are all the sum of features. It can be built as a components. It has a virtual DOM. So it's very simple to see, and performance wise, it's very beautiful. So you will see the lot of performance optimization. You don't see the re-renders. You will render only the section that has to be replaced. Right. Some of the advantages, as we discussed, you can build a lot of reusable components. Right. You can see the virtual DOMs, and it's easier and faster to create a web app. Right. Limitations. So see what happens in React. React library itself a library in the Node. React behind the scenes, React is built using a Node language, right? It's a JavaScript. It will run on the Node server. Node.js is a server. Node is a server. Node.js is a language for building the APIs. So it will run on the Node server. You will build the application on the JavaScript and you will make it run on the Node servers. So this Node, you can build a lot of modules in the Node server, using the Node applications. So where do you have the modules? You have the NPM registry. This is the registry. Any Node applications can use this registry to use the modules that you have built or somebody has already built. You can download those packages. Like React is also a library that is available here. You can use it. This Node package manager also has Angular library. Angular CLI will also be there. Angular material, right? It's in general Node package manager where our Node-based applications will have, reside. Node-based modules will be residing, right? If you want any Node-based material UI, it will also be there, right? Material colors, material icons, elevations, right? For bringing the UI beautiful. Bootstrap is one of the UI library. You will have it as the Node module here. This is the generally this is the package registry where you can download necessary modules for your building your front-end application, React application or Angular application, any Node-based applications, right? Now, let's go and look into the let's see how we build a React application. So any questions before we go on to the next topic? Hopefully no. Okay, right, let's move on to the next topic. Let's see one example how we build a React application and what it is useful, what are all the different things that we have in a React application, what is the entry point and other stuff, right? Let me open up the window for you. So as you all know, so if you have not known, the prerequisites for this is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So these are the languages that you need to know for building the React application. And to run this application, you need a Node server. So let me show you. Node server is something that is available here. You can download based on your OS, either it be a OS, Linux, or Windows, or Mac. You can download the supported version of that. Right? These are all the most stable versions. You can download that, and you can install this. Post installation, you can also check whether the node is installed using node version, right? What I have 17 version, but you can download the latest and you can do that, right? So node is required. You also need npm. This will be part of the node itself. As you install node, the npm is also get installed. npm is something that we saw, right? Node package manager. This command is used to connect to the node package manager and download necessary modules required for your application. So what is that download? How you download? We'll see it in short. Right. I have the version 6.14. This is how it's going to be. Now, let's see an example. Let's go to an folder. You also need a Visual Studio Code. It's an IDE. This IDE is where you will, write code, and you can also, start your code, compile your code from this IDE. Right. Let me go to this. Go to any folder where you want to create your application. Right. Let's say this is the folder. Open the command prompt from here, or you can even open it from there. So Visual Studio Code, we talk about Visual Studio Code, right? Where you can download is Visual Studio Code download. It's a Microsoft product, and download from here. Right. You can download it here based on your OS and install it. Once you open up your Visual Studio, you will have something like this, right? Where you will have, file section, file explorer area, right? Where you can upload your folders, project folders, one or more project folders. You can add one or more project folders. Let's create the folder first. You will get React app. So to create a React app, once you install the node and npm, there is a command npx. Npx is to install the module, right? Create React app is a library. What this library will do so it will create a basic template required for running a basic template, which has all the necessary things to start your project, which means to compile, to execute, and to launch your product to launch your application. What are all the necessary scripts or steps required will be part of this template available. Let's see what is that. Let's name this application as Pro Demo, right? So what it does, it will install the first thing that you need. Let's talk about this. You see, it will create a folder with the name of your project. Whatever project name you have given, it will create a folder. Then it creates a package JSON. We'll see now what is this package JSON is. Now, any node application, React is also node application, right? Any node application requires an entry point. Where does this application starts, right? That entry point is this package JSON. The first thing that any application, when you start or when you run or when you give any command, the first thing that it will look for is it will look for the package JSON. Now, what you have in the package JSON, let me open up. Right now, you have only 3 items here. The name of the application, the version of the application, and private. Private is something that we will see it later. So this is to make your module is private, or to making it as a public so that anybody can use it. Make it as a public, create a build of it, and host it in the npm private registry so anybody can use that. For that purpose, this is used. But let's look into this one. The name of the application or project, the version of the component or product, whatever it is, right? This is the entry point for any application, but you still have a lot more things in this. You will have dependencies, you will have scripts that will be generated by this command. It's still running. It will do all those stuff. What it says, creating a new React app, which is nothing but your folder, and it will create a package JSON. This is the basic thing that you need to have. So it will create for you. Then there are modules that require. Want to make your application as a React-based application, you need to install your React library first. React library also required React DOM to render your React components in the HTML. It also has a React scripts. React scripts is nothing but, see, someone has to, you are writing your code in a JavaScript and XML format. React component that you will write code in JavaScript and XML. let's look at a sample React component. This is a demo component that we have created for some purpose. So let's look at the folder structure first. As I said, this package.json is the entry file. I think this component has been installed. It's still running. Okay. So what you will have, a name, a version, and dependencies and scripts. So dependencies are something that your application is dependent of these libraries. You're building a React application, right? Then you need a React library. So you need a React DOM library for rendering this React component in the browser. You need a React scripts library. React script library is generally used for compiling your code. Sorry, question to me. Okay, so React scripts are used for compiling your React components, right, and transpiling into the JavaScript and then rendering it in the browser. So this is the use that has been used for React scripts. Now, what is this compiling and transpiling? If you look at the code of the React, let's look at a component, sample component. In JavaScript, if you are not familiar with JavaScript, I'll tell you how JavaScript looks. JavaScript, and you will return something in the JavaScript functions. Let's look at a sample function. Let's create a function called sum. What it takes an input of A and B. Then this function can return something. Sum of two numbers, A plus B. Now what is this? What does it do? A function is the term or a keyword that is to denote this is a function, and it has a name, and it has open braces and closed braces with two parameters. A and B are parameters. Right. What this function is doing? This function is doing addition of two numbers and returning a value. This is what a function does in traditional JavaScript. Now, React is nothing but it's also a JavaScript with some additional thing that you add. So any React component is nothing but it's either a functional component or a class component. There are two ways that you can create components in React. One is the function based, the other one is class based. So what we are seeing here is function based. Function based is nothing but like traditional JavaScript, you will have a function name and other thing. You can also pass the props and you can return something. The only difference between the JavaScript and this, we call it as a JSX. Why do you call it as a JSX in React? Additionally, along with JavaScript, it also has a XML syntax, right? A JavaScript will not have any XML syntax, but a JSX, JavaScript XML, will have a XML syntax. What is that XML syntax? Here you can write HTML in the return statement, which you cannot do it in the traditional JavaScript. That's why this is called as a JSX, JavaScript plus XML kind of statements. So what you return here, you will return a head of in the React components. This is a functional component. Functional component is nothing but a component with a name and keyword function, and it returns some. It will return some HTML. So as we see in the diagram, a React component will have its own HTML content, which is what it renders. It can also has its own CSS, which will beautify your component, React component. You can add your CSS somewhere, class names, right? And you can write that in the HTML. Now, if you see whether the application has been created, yes, it's been created. Now let's open up that application. The name of the application is AllPro. Open the VS Code from here. You see, the create React app command creates you a project with the name AllPro demo, and it creates a package.json file. Let's look at the anatomy of the React project. It has a package JSON, it has a README, it has a source folder, a public package JSON has a name, version, and other thing. So dependencies is something, the different libraries that it requires, this particular project requires, React, React DOM, React scripts, and testing libraries of the components. Scripts are the something that you can execute on your project. Like if you want to start your application, you can run start script. If you want to build your application, run the build script. If you want to test script. This is what the script is useful for. Okay. Now, these are all the other things that you may not be looking into, right? Now, what else you have? You have a public folder, a node modules folder. You see there is a script being created. Sorry, dependencies, right? So these dependencies are, as we saw, these dependencies are available in the node package registry, which is in npm.js.com. Now, being it here, how do you use in your application? That's how you want to add your dependencies. What are all the dependencies required for your application? You have to specify in your package JSON. Then you have to install this application, run these modules in your npm, downloads the necessary modules from the package registry into your node modules folder, which is running in your local. If you go, you will see here. Let me open up this one. See, a React module from your npm registry has been downloaded into your projects node module folder. Right. What it does, what are all the necessary modules you require for your application, it will download all the modules. Now you see, let's see how many modules are there. There are 819 modules downloaded, but you can ask a question. See, I haven't mentioned 819 modules. I have mentioned only 7 modules here. Then how come the 819 modules download? Yes. Each component internally may need a lot of modules. For example, this React component, React library may require another library. Behind the scenes, this is also an application, right? How do you find that? Let's see an example. You have a React, right? A React is a component or library, which is again a node module. It also has a package JSON where name of the component, version of the component is there. You see, there is a dependencies here. It also has a dependency. So now this will also get installed into your project folder. This is how it's going to be, right? This also get installed. If you have seen it in the folder structure, node modules folder, you will also see this loose NV file. You see, it's there. Likewise, what React, what these node modules will have, it will have a dependencies, and it will also have a dependency of dependencies, which means a dependency required by your dependency. So it will check all the hierarchy, and it will download all the necessary modules required for you into the application. That's why you see all these 819 modules in your application. Now this is all about the node modules folder. Now, if you go to the public folder, what we have? We talk about the HTML, right? Let me open up in the VS Code. We talk about the HTML. Whatever the browser can see is only from the HTML, whatever you have written in the HTML. Let's run this example. You can run it from here, or you can run it from Visual Studio Code using Open Integrated Terminal. How do you run this application? HTML.
Yeah, hi participants. Trainer has some issue, so he's just resolving it. Just please wait. Yeah, please wait. The trainer is rejoining. Lokesh?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you can continue, Lokesh.
Okay. For some reason, I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, fine. We were looking into the application. Okay, so we have started the application using npm start. That is the script which you have written here, right, in the script stack, which uses the React script library and start your application, which you see compiles. Once successfully compiled, it will launch your application in the browser. It will take care of that responsibility. So as you see, this is the component being built using React. You have a GIF file that is running, you have a text, and you have a link. Now let's look into the HTML. So HTML is what the browser can understand. That's what we discussed initially, right? End of the day, this is the HTML. Let's see. Let's look at the DOM element of this. So you have a head, body, set body, you have ID. You have a header tag with the image. That is the image that is being seen here, or SVG. You have a paragraph. The paragraph is nothing but where you write edit SRC and save to reload. You have an anchor tag with the text land React. So this is all about. Now, if you look at the code in the HTML, you go to the HTML, right? In your body, you don't see anything. You see only the div ID root, right? There is nothing else in there. Then how do you receive this content and render it here? This is all been written in the React component, and that React component has been injected into your division. Division is nothing but your container with the ID root. To this container, the logic that you have written in the React component has been injected. How is it been done? That's what been done in the React component. So the HTML is something that you will create a plain HTML with head, body, and other things, and you will have one root container. That is your division. Nothing else you will have in the HTML. So your code and other stuff will be in the source folder, SRC folder, right? The SRC folder. What is the initial file inside the SRC folder is your index.js. This is where you will write all your logic. So what logic has been written here? You have imported a React component library and you have imported a React DOM library. You have imported the index CSS or something. Then app component has been imported. App component is nothing but your own component that you have written some logic. This is where you have written all your, you written your component with returning some division. This is what you see in the process, right? Here. This is where it is coming from. You have written it here. So on the whole, this app.js is your React component, which is a functional component, which has a function and a name, and it returns some HTML. So any component that you want to use in some other components or some other folders or wherever it is, you always export that component and use it in other components. This and this are two different components. To use this app.js component in the index.js component, you have to export that function there using export default app and import it here using import app from this particular component, which is in the current folder structure. And the name of the component is app. Right. So once you import the component, you can use it here. So what you have written here, right? Basically, you want to use any library, you have to import. Where you are importing it from? When you put this syntax, import a library from React. This is already available. As you see the hyperlink here, this will always refer to the React component, which is in the node modules. Right. This will go and find whether this particular module is available in the node modules folder. So it will use that. So this is why you need to install these libraries from the node package manager, and you will download it into your local, and then you will start using it in your applications. Right, you see React DOM and React, all these components has been imported. You can also import your local components, which you have built. These are all the components or libraries that is already built and hosted in the, published in the node package registry. You can also build your own components and you can import and use that. Now you see, you have written your code in app.js, but you are able to see it in the HTML, final HTML. How does it happen? This is what it is doing. You are getting the root ID. You are getting the document by a JavaScript code, document.getElement by ID of root. What it does is, it will identify the container using the ID. This is the ID of this container, right? It will identify that. And then root.render will append your component or whatever logic, whatever code that you are written. So for rendering into your root DOM, root element, which is nothing but your division, which is here. Basically, what it does, it tries to append your component logic into the root container. That's what it does. So this is where you have written your logic to render your component, and this is where you are appending it to the root division in the HTML. The entire thing, this will be taken care by a React DOM component, right? To create the DOM element and append it to the existing container. This is what the React DOM library is used for. React and React DOM. So now you understand how you get this piece of logic that you have written in app.js to inside your root ID div, right? A division with ID root. So what happens, as we already discussed, any React application, right? Any HTML browser will understand only JavaScript and HTML and CSS. It doesn't understand the JSX syntax, which means it doesn't understand this syntax. You cannot directly run this function in the browser. Let's try that. If you are in any browser, also a browser, right? Let's open up the console. So you can write a function in the console. Let's name this function as sum. Oh, sorry. This function returns some value. Now, when you call this function, it returns something. Now, let's create a function what you have done in the app. What it says, it throws error because HTML doesn't understand a JSX kind of functions. It can understand only the normal JavaScript functions. So how do you make this to make it understandable as a JavaScript? That's where your compilers comes into place. You have a Babel compiler. Babel is a compiler, which compiles and transpiles your JSX code into JavaScript code. What is that? Babel. There are different combination and permutations which React component along with Babel and Webpack. Webpack is also there. I'll tell you why Webpack is useful, what it does. Okay. So this is a JavaScript compiler which takes a JSX syntax and it will convert into a normal JavaScript syntax. So that now your browser can understand the normal syntax. This will take care of that responsibility of compiling your JSX code into JS, and then it appends to the HTML. So that's where the JavaScript Babel comes into place. Now, Webpack. So though you are running this application, there is nothing been added here, but you still see that content in the final output. How does it happen? This is where the Webpack comes into place. It bundles your application. It will compile and bundle your application, and then finally it appends it to your HTML and open up the browser to render. Anytime you do any change, it will auto reload. These are all the part of Webpack logic, which does the packaging and bundling and rendering on reloading. All those things will be done in the Webpack. Let's see that. Webpack module. See, there are a bunch of files. You can bundle your all assets and you can also convert into one single JS file. You'll write a lot of JavaScript components with different images combined together, CSS and everything. What Webpack does, it will bundles all together and it renders a final single JS and CSS and HTML, which is being used in your HTML. That is Webpack what is responsible for, but it does that job. There are other libraries also we will use. See what happens if we go to our example. Right? One React component. So the data binding is always single, one side. The parent will pass the data to the children. In this use case, right? Let's say there is a problem here. What is the problem? So you click on checkbox. Now you need to show the check mark. So to change from unchecked to checked, the property of this component has to change from checked to unchecked. Who will pass this property? Generally, the React component will get the properties from the parent. Now the parent of this one is list item. The parent of list item is to do. Parent of to do is app. So this particular application has to pass the property to this child, grandchild, and child of the grandchild. Right? This many hierarchy it has to pass on. So this is what we call it as a props drilling to the lower level from the parent, grandparent, or whatever it is, right? So to avoid this is a problem. So if there is any small change here, the property of this has to be changed, and this has to be changed. This is also to be changed, This is also bit to change. What happens if the property changes? The component re-renders. Now the property of all these components are changing because of the change in small area. So everything will get re-rendered. This is a problem. So because of this, the performance has an impact. How does it is solved? React has a context API where you can pass the properties to any level in a React component. Any level can read the context and get the property changes. Not necessarily to the, parent only has to pass the properties to the children. It can directly access. So if there is any change here, it go and update the context API. If any other component listening to that context, it can re-render. Here, both applying and re-rendering is happening in the same component. I click on checkbox, it will go and set the property here. Checkbox is clicked. Now the same component is listening to that. Is checkbox clicked? Yes, then I will re-render. So this we can use the context API. There is other way. See, one component to other component communication will not cannot happen on the reverse way. It means a parent can pass the props to the children. Children cannot pass the props to the parent unless there is an event passed from parent and being triggered for it. So this is a one-way binding. Now, if there is any change in one component, you cannot interact with the other component directly in React. It has its own properties, it has its own state, but you cannot update the property of other component and other state. This is one of the gap, right? Which means suppose you want to change. See, when I click on this, I want to change in the navigation bar that what item has been selected, like buy milk has been selected. That is what I want to display here. The logic is written here. I want to interact from this component to this component. You cannot do it directly in the React. You need to have a centralized state of the application where you need to manage all the properties. You click on this, update the centralized state, and you read that value from the centralized state and show it here. So there is a centralized state that you can manage. That is where you will use a Redux. Redux is one more library, right? It's used for state management in your application. You can interact between your components from using Redux. We'll stop here for some more. Any questions, you can always jump in and ask. Okay, since no questions, then we move on to the next one. Okay, so moving on to the next topic. So we talked about what libraries are being used for building. So to build the entire React application, we need all these libraries that needs to be used: React DOM and React scripts, and Webpack, Babel. Internally it uses. So here, both React, Webpack and Babel, the work of the Webpack and Babel is being taken care of by the React scripts, which does the job. Okay, now let's go back to the code that we have created, right? So this is nothing but your component logic here. This is what you added. You're going to render it here. So every component, let's look at an example. Let me start running it. This is one of the sample application. Let's run it. As you see, once you run the npm start, go to the packages and run this React scripts. To also identify that in the port, default port is 3000. We already started another application in 3000, which is running. So it will ask you want to start another port. Yes. Starting the development server. Then it launches your application in the browser. Behind the scenes, this application is running on a Node server, which you already installed from the node.js.org. What is that? Yes. Yes, no, yeah. Let me open it in Chrome. So you see here, we try to replicate a product page. So a product has an image, a name, and price and description. Right now, so in this case, we are trying to list 4 different products from 13, 12, 11, and 7. Now, so for this to create, the only thing the difference between the each product is image of the product, name, price, and description of the product, right? Other than that, rest of the things remains the same. Like the look and feel and the content looks the same except the values. So to do this, what we can do, we'll create a one single product component. Let's say. So we'll create a product component. Right. Inside the product component, it's a function component. You will write some JSX syntax. Right? It's kind of HTML. A product name, product price, product description. You see there is an expression that is being used here. What is this expression? So every component, React component, can get the properties from its parent. Properties can be a JSON. It will be a JSON, right? With the name props. The JSON can have an example of JSON is, let me show you. So this is a JSON structure of data. So JSON structure, within the curly braces, you will have a key and value, comma, key and value of another. Likewise, you can have a number of keys and values. Here I'm passing name, iPhone. So this is how you get the data from your APIs, backend APIs. Right. Now you have 4 objects in the JSON array. This is an array, right? You have 4 objects in this array. Each object has its own values. The properties are same. I mean, the keys are same. The values are different now. So this is what each and every product will get as an input, as you see here. In your product component, you'll get this as a props, and you can use the props. So here, I'm going to use from the props. I'm going to use name here. From the props, I'm going to use price here. From the props, I'm going to use description here. Right. The same component with the different values. I can pass any value from the property. I can pass iPhone value or whatever it is. So it will get that value and it will render it. Okay. So this is the product component. Where it is, it's here. This section is the product component. Whatever value you passed in the props, it will take the properties from that value and it will render it. So now the next thing is a product list component. A product list component is something that, so here I need multiple products, right? What I'll do here, as you see here, there is a multiple objects in the JSON array. 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. Each has its own values, right? So you will pass this products itself as an, you'll create a product list component. What is the purpose of product list component? That product list component will take the input. As many number of objects it has in the input, it will render the same product component that many times. We have written that logic here. See, render the product component. This is the product component, right? Where you get this product component from? You will import it from the class component, or this is the class component and this is the functional component, but both has the same logic, right? You get the import the product from your component list, and then you pass the properties to the component. Once you do this, your component will be rendered. Now what you are doing, you are getting a list of components from the parent. When you say list of components, there are 4 items in your product list. There is a map function which used to iterate the list of items and return one by one. It iterates the object. You can iterate over the array. The first iteration, you will get the first object. Second iteration, you will get the second object. Like this, you will get each of the objects as a data and pass that data to the product component. That's how your input is your JSON with 4 objects, but your output you see here is the same product component has been rendered 4 times, right? So this is how a product list is going to work. The same component can be rendered based on the data multiple times with different information being rendered. Now you also has the filter in your product list component. You can filter your data. How does it work? There is an event that is being triggered from your, we have events in React. Props are something that you will pass to the children with some information. Events are something that you trigger something and you want to filter the data, right? On click, what it has to happen. On change, what it has to happen. On change, you will get the data what you have changed. I mean, what product you have modified. And you will filter the data. The actual product list is, there are 4 items in the actual product list. Now what you are doing, you are filtering the data, filtering the product with the selected filter value and name of your product is matching. Then you will return only that product. Rest of the products are ignored, and you will set that in the rendering list, right? That's what you do. There are hooks which is used to update the state of your component. You have state and props. State is nothing but, see, as props being passed from the parent, the state is internal to the component, which is internal. As you see, the product list is the state of this component. It's not being passed from the parent. It's maintained internally. You can change this state anytime, right? What you do here, you have created a product list variable, and as a state here, this is the hook. So in React hooks, we use this way to create the hooks and use that. Then you filter the product, you set the product list with the new filtered item. Now automatically this state of this problem, the state is being changed of this component as one value, the filtered value. Now the component whichever is listening to the state will automatically re-render. You can make the component to re-render by changing the state. So there are multiple ways. So you can pass the props in our example, right? To go back to our example, you can pass the props from your parent to the component to re-render the component, or within this component, you can have the state and you do any changes, update the state of the component, it will re-render. That's how the state and props. There are a lot of things to discuss on the state and props. So since there is a time constraint, we did go in detail. Yes. So we already reached, 7:30 now. So probably any questions or anything in general or anything very specific to React, can come up with that so that we can stop the session. Okay. So I've stopped sharing. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, thank you, Logesh. Thank you. And now we have our queries and feedback session. If you have any queries, participant, kindly unmute yourself and you can ask the doubt. You can ask queries through the chat itself, or if you want to speak, you can speak. Unmute yourself and you can speak. No queries? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Logesh. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. And it is very informative, and all the topics that you explained are very clear and more informative. Thank you for this wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now I will play the feedback video of one of our students. Just watch it.
Hi guys, I'm Aishwarya from Chennai and I'm working in testing background. I'm a manual tester come automation tester. As I needed some help with automation training, I reached out to IRPA from AP Trainings. So he suggested me to take up the Selenium Java course, and I got a very good guidance from AP Training from Rahul and IRPA from AP. And currently I have got an offer with a 120% hike, and I definitely got the confidence and courage to move to switch to another company only after completing this training. And I would definitely suggest you guys to get into AP trainings and get yourself to a better career. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Actually, we have trained more than 35,000 across the globe, and we are also providing jobs through our AP consultancies. Now, let's see AP Students Guide. Yeah, Lokesh, actually, one of the participants asked a doubt in the session. He's asking why pace of development is so faster in React. Lokesh?
Yeah. Sorry, question to me.
Yeah, I will put in the chat.
Okay.
He's asking why pace of development is so faster in React.
Yes. So there are a couple of reasons why the development is faster. One reason is, see, we talk about the components. We'll build a lot of reusable components. So if you want to use the same component in some other pages, you can always reuse with different properties being passed. That is one reason. So the React community, right? As you see the node npm package registry we talk about. So where there is, you being a developer, you can create a component and you can host it, you can publish it in the registry. Likewise, the React has a very big community, huge community. Right? Initially, React was built by Facebook. Then they made it as open source. Then people start using that React library and they create their own components. Then they feel that some of the components can be reused in different projects in different companies. So they publish into the registry. Now, if you want to build a good, good looking product tile, you may not need to do it from your scratch by yourself. You can go on to the registry and you can find some open source modules or something which is already there. Download that component from the registry and you can just pass the different properties, unless you want to modify that. If that library supports for editing due to licenses, terms and other things. Likewise, there are a bunch of components which is ready to use. You can always use it and create the components much more faster. And as you see the library, the compilation, reloading and rendering, everything is it's inbuilt. You don't want to do it from the scratch everything. It's inbuilt. The templates are provided. Components are available in the market. You can build the components by yourself or enhance some of the components and reuse it. So these are all some reasons when you build any React application, you can build much more faster. When it comes to the performance, we see why the application renders much more faster, right? So it's, it has the concept of virtual DOM. Only a portion of the DOM will be get pre-rendered. So these are all some reasons that the React framework is getting very popular, and development is became much more easier and simpler. And that's some of the reasons.
Okay, Ramesh. Thank you so much for this answer.
thank you.
Yeah, now I'm going to explain this AllPro trainings student guide. These are the 5 courses we provide to the students. Simple learning methodology, students recall, creative explanation, fingertip materials, additional bonuses. We will see one by one in the further slides. The simple teaching methodology will have 6 sessions. It will happen for 75 minutes. The session 1 will be a 10-minute session. We will discuss about the yesterday's class, and we will clear the doubt in that. And session 2 is for 20 minutes. There we will discuss about the today's topic. And session 3 will be for 15 minutes, where students will have time to practice. Student will be given practice for the today's topic. And session 4 will be about recalling the today's class topic, and again giving the questions for the practice. It will be session 5, which will happen for 10 minutes. And last will be session 6. It will be for 5 minutes, where student recalls today's topic with the trainers. And this is the learning pyramid. Actually, from the lecture and by reading our video, audio or visuals, or video visuals, demonstration, discussion, you will get only 50% of the knowledge. But by doing the practice and teaching others, you can gain more knowledge than others. So we are targeting more on the practical knowledge, not on the theoretical knowledge. And coming to the creative explanation, we will provide e-learning platform where we can provide you online video tools, text, audios, everything. And e-coaching will be like the personal connection between the you and trainer. And collaborative learning is like group study or group batches, where we have number of students to discuss, and you can have chats and discussion forums. And last is a virtual classroom. Here we have group coaching online. So you can discuss your doubts along with the group, and you can get better idea about the topic. And we will provide notes through OneNotes, so you can have lifetime assessment to it. And as I said, we will provide class notes with pictures, diagrammatic representation, and whole training text in a single notebook. And we will provide video recordings, class notes, and documents, software. The license of the software will be accessible for 6 months after the course. And coming to the additional bonuses, we will give you free interview sessions, lifelong community support. We will give job links, resume preparation help, professional certification guidance, and we also help you to get job through AllPro consultancies. This is the average market salary of the reactjs developer. If you are a fresher, you can get up to 4 lakhs per annum. If you are an experienced person of 1 to 2 years, you can gain up to 6 lakhs per annum. If you are a well-experienced person of about 9 to 10 years, you can get 22 to 25 lakhs per annum. And here the student's guide ends. Now we can go for students review. This is a review given by one of our Blue Prism student, and this is a review given by automation student, .NET student review, second Blue Prism working professional review, AWS student review, Selenium student review, Python student review, UiPath, SQLDBA, Java student, graphics design, Blue Prism. This is the important feedback we get from our USS student, Parveen Banu. is the feedback we got from non-IT experienced student. He don't have any experience in IT field, but he had a course with us, and now he is placed, and he's very happy, and he gave this review to us. It's a Power Automate student review which we got recently. So again, Blue Prism student review, AWS student review, Data Science, reactjs, Linux. Actually, this is one of the review we got from Career Graph students, which is the student was working before, but after the marriage, she on some issues he can't continue. So after the career gap, he joined with us for QA automation course, and now he is placed. And we got review from the student. Is the AWS DevOps College student review. We got in a Google Business. And thank you. Now we are going to see APT offer course PPT. And this is the training model. We will teach through Skype or Zoom, and our total hours of teaching will be 35 to 40 hours. And most of the course market price. This is the market price for the reactjs course is 25 to 30K. But we are going to give some discount on this. And our AllPro training price is 20K. But due to those who are attending this webinar will get a special discount of about 50%. It will be valid only for 1 week. You can pay 15K, and we are also providing you 60% offer for the next 60 minutes. Those who are registering for the next 60 minutes or who register within the next 60 minutes will get a discount up to 60%. That is 12K. It will be valid only for 60 minutes after this webinar. So just make sure and register with us for this offer. And some of the special bonuses are free interview sessions. We will help in resume preparation. We will also provide support in interviews, and we will help you to clear the professional applications, and we will provide lifelong community support. And some of the special advantages of joining the AllPro is you can get your queries cleared at any time with the trainer, and the trainer you can get your trainer to preferred time, and we will give you the recorded videos. You can watch it in your free time, and you can have practice. We will also provide job links. And this is a salary production. If you are a fresher and you are trying through your knowledge, you will get only hike up to 3.5%. But if you come through to AP and you gain knowledge, and if you try through us, you can get full 100% hike. Here we have explained everything. Just have a look at it. One small step can change your life. So kindly register with us and have a change in your life. Okay, now I will give you feedback form and payment link in the chat. Kindly register with us and do the payment if you're okay. I have given the Google form link. You can now put your feedback there. I have also given the payment link. Those who are interested to pay can pay through this link and grab the offer for next 60 minutes. And participants can also share their feedback here. If you are interested, can unmute yourself and share your feedback about the session. Kindly fill out the feedback form which we have given. Am I audible to everyone?
Yeah, you're audible only.
Okay. Kindly fill out the feedback form. And if you're willing to join, you can also send a message to us privately through WhatsApp or here itself. We are also helping many students who have non-IT experience. We are helping them to change the career from non-IT to IT through some important course. There are some courses like QA automation and UiPath, which helps them to shift their career from non-IT to IT. Your certificate will be given within 1 week after this webinar. Any other queries? Kindly unmute yourself and ask the queries. Have all kindly fill out the feedback form which we have given in the chat. Click to the ring and you can fill out the even if you have missed the session or you want to regain the session, you can watch the YouTube. This video will be there in a YouTube as we are doing the live streaming. You can see the video in YouTube. If you want to share with your friends, you can share the link. Have all kindly fill out the feedback form. Have all filled the feedback form? Yeah, kindly fill it out. Kindly fill it out. Kindly fill the feedback form. If you have any feedback regarding the session, you can say here. You can unmute yourself and say here. Or if you have any doubts too, you can also ask here. Lokesh is still here. Have all filled the feedback form? If anyone is looking to change their career from non-IT to IT, you can contact us and we will tell you about the courses which helps you to change your career. Or if you have any career gap, or if you have any issues in your experience, in your knowledge, or if you want to have some practical knowledge, you can contact us. We will help you. Kindly fill the feedback form which I have put in the chat. Everyone fill the form. We will provide you all notes, software, video recordings of the daily sessions. You can connect with the trainer at your preferred time. Every advantages we are giving to you. Student concern is our main aim. So we are trying to fulfill their aims. Okay, participants who have filled the feedback form can leave the meeting. You will get your certificate within 1 week. The certificate will be provided only to the person who have filled the feedback form. So kindly fill out the feedback form before you leave the meeting. Kindly fill out the feedback form, and those who have filled the feedback form can leave the meeting. You will get your e-certificate within 1 week. Those who have filled the feedback form can leave the meeting. If you have any issue in filling the feedback form, can ask me. The certificate will be provided only to the person who have filled the feedback form. Harshdeep Chinmankar, have you filled the feedback form? Mohammad Nadeem, have you filled the feedback form? Nandini, Joy Shankar, Tushar Nehi, Have you filled the feedback form? Those who have filled the feedback form can leave the meeting. Nandini, have you filled the feedback form? Sai Shankar, Mugundana, Nadeem. Okay. We can end up the session. Thank you, Lokesh. Thank you, Uman. Thank you, Ilamadi, for joining the meeting. Thank you.